everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make two different cards using the September stamp of the month called Thoughtful Tokens. And it's got these great, almost heritage looking images and the film strip and some other sentiments. Okay, so I'm going to use this image that has the butterfly on it, and I'm going to stamp it on a scrap of the new paper from the collection called The Good Life, and I'm stamping this out in Harbor. Okay, so I've got some scraps left over from a workshop from The Good Life, and I'm going to make two cards using the scraps. Okay, so we have that stamped out, and then I'm going to stamp it again. And this time I'm only focusing on the butterfly. I don't really need the rest of the image because I'm going to fussy cut. Okay, so I'm stamping that on White Daisy. Get that stamped out, and then we'll get everything cleaned up and get the misty out of the way. And I'm going to fussy cut. So I'm going to just leave this in the video. I've sped this up super fast. So I'm cutting around the butterfly, and I'm not worrying about the antenna. I'm cutting around the main image of the butterfly, and then I'll cut the whole image out. And I'm going to overlay the small butterfly cut out over the whole image. So you'll kind of see the antenna in the background. Okay, so I have all that cut out, and then I'm going to use our new pencils. These are from Spectrum Noir. They're Colorista. And I'm going to color in my butterfly. So I've just chosen a few colors. There's lots to choose from. I've got kind of a aqua and blue and purple. And we'll just put some color down. And then I'm going to take my finger and kind of smudge everything and blend it together. And we'll color in the little body of the butterfly, and we're good to go. I'll bend those wings up, and then I'll be popping the butterfly with some foam tape. Okay, so now I have a piece of Harbor cardstock, but you could do this on White Daisy because it's going to be completely covered up. I'm cutting it at 4 by 5 1/4, and then I have this scrap of gingham Harbor cardstock from The Good Life, and then some strips of the mocha polka dot paper. Okay, so those were originally cut at 1/2 inch, and I'm going to cut them in half again, so they're 1/4 inch. Okay. So you could do the same pattern on a piece of patterned paper that's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. But I'm doing it this way because I want to use that strip of gingham that I have. Okay, so it's a little bit over 2 inches wide by 12. So I'm measuring, after I've laid out these strips, I'm measuring how big that square is going to be in the center. And I have another piece of the pattern paper, this is kind of a weathered wood grain, and I'm cutting that at 2 1/4 inches square, and I'm going to adhere it smack dab in the middle of this piece of Harbor cardstock. Okay, so I have it lined up on my Versamat, and the corners are going to be at the 6-inch mark all the way around. Okay. So I've got that centered and adhered, and then I'm going to lay down these strips along the edges of that square. And this is kind of a quilting pattern too for you quilters out there. So I'm just going to glue down each of these strips around that diamond. And I'm just letting the excess hang over the edges, because I'm going to trim those after I'm done gluing. And that last piece I'll trim down to 2 1/4, and we'll just pop it in that space. Okay, so we'll flip it over, trim off the excess. And like I said, if your pattern paper was under all of this was cut at 4 by 5 1/4, you'd be done. But I want to use this extra strip, the scrap. Okay, so this is how I'm doing it. So I'm just laying it in the space where it's supposed to go and making a tick mark with a pencil, and then I'll trim it. Okay, and then I'll glue that down and just leave the extra hanging over the edges. And then flip everything over and trim off the excess. And I'll save those larger pieces, can make banners and other things out of it. And then I'll just continue all the way around, placing this piece, making a tick mark, and then I'll trim it down, and I'll glue it down. And then I'll continue on with the next piece, make my tick mark. And if you start out with a piece that's 12 inches in length, you should have the perfect amount left over to fit in that last spot. Okay, so I'll just glue down all these pieces and then I'll flip it over. So you don't see any of the harbor cardstock, so you can use a piece of white daisy instead of using your colored paper to do this. But it was easier for you to see what I was doing with the darker color, I think. So then I'll just trim everything. And then we'll have our base for our card. Pretty cute. I love that gingham paper. Okay, so I'm going to frame it with some mocha. So I'm going to trim this at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That'll be my card base. And brought in another piece of harbor just to be sure. And I like the mocha. It pops better. Okay, so I'm going to lay everything out. That's my basic design. I'm going to bring in a piece of toffee scrap cardstock, and I'm going to stamp Thinking of You in Harbor ink. Okay. So in the stamp set, you get a Thinking of You, a Thank You, and a Happy Birthday, which is awesome. Makes the stamp set very useful to have all those sentiments. So you can get the stamp set only during the month of September with any $50 purchase, or if you're a VIP, you can get it for free with a $50 purchase. Okay, so I've trimmed around my sentiment, and I'm going to cut a piece of fun foam with a circle die to lay underneath, just because it's pattern paper, and pattern paper is a lighter weight than cardstock, and I just want to make sure that it's going to be held up nicely and evenly, so that's why I use the circle. Okay, so I'm going to use some of these wood grain shapes. These are new from the new Essentials catalog, and I couldn't find a Harbor colored pencil in the Colorista collection, so I pulled a couple of pencils from my set of Prismacolors. So I found they're easier to color in if you don't pop them out, just leave them in that 6x6 square, color them in, and then pop them out. They're a lot easier to color. Okay, so now we can start assembling. And I'm just gonna lay everything down with my Air Touch tape runner. And then I'm gonna lay out everything before I start gluing things down, so that I can figure out the placement of those leaves that I colored in. Okay. So I like that. And we'll just get those glued down. So they'll be kind of tucked under each side there. Kind of extending the greenery of the stamped image. Okay. And then I'm going to pop my sentiment with some foam tape, and I'll add a small piece of foam tape right in the center of the colored butterfly so that I can bend the wings up. But first I'm going to go ahead and glue this fun foam to the back of the circle there, and then glue the whole thing to my card front. And then we'll add that butterfly. Pretty images in this set. Be great for heritage photos, or maybe even Western photos, home photos for layouts. Okay, and there's my finished card. And you can use whatever colors you like on that butterfly. Got some close-up shots here. And then we'll make another card. Okay, so I'm going to use this film strip image, and then I'm going to use the thank you sentiment. And I've got some more scraps from The Good Life, and I'm using that zip strip from one of the pattern papers. So this time I'm going to stamp out this butterfly image in Mocha. And again, I'm going to do it twice. So I'm going to do it once on White Daisy, and then again on White Daisy, but only focusing on that butterfly. So I'm basically doing the same thing as I did before. And I'm going to get some scratch paper. I'm going to bring in this piece of toffee. Okay, so I'm going to create some faux wood grain paper. So I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and I've got the dark side down, and I'm just making some score lines. They're not any particular dimension. I want them to be random. So some are 3/4, some are half, some are 1/4 inch. I'm just kind of scoring a bunch of lines. I'll turn that back over. And then I'm going to take my toffee ink pad and just swipe. And just get some lines of ink down. And then it looks like wood grain. Okay, so this is going to be the base for my stamped image. And I'm going to stamp the film strip image on here. Okay, so I'm going to stamp that in Mocha. Right over that wood grain. And then I'm going to stamp my sentiment, thank you, on this as well. Okay, so that's also in Mocha. And then I'll bring in my trimmer and trim around both of these images. So that film strip piece is going to be trimmed down to 5.5 inches in length. And then I've trimmed around the thank you, and I'm dovetailing each end. So just cut vertically in the center and take each corner to meet that snip. And then we'll have our sentiment. Then I'm going to trim around this square so that I have a mat of mocha, and I'm going to trim my zip strips down to about 3 3/4 inches. I'm going to make it look like that zip strip is a full piece of cardstock. You'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, so I'm going to pull some more colored pencil colors, and this time the butterfly is going to be yellow and orange. I'm just pulling some random colors here, and we'll go ahead and color the butterfly in. So I sped this up super fast. We'll just lay down some color, basically the same way I did the other one. Just lay some color down, and then I'll use my finger to smudge it to blend everything together. And then we'll fussy cut. So this time I'm not fussy cutting the other panel. It's going to stay in that rectangular shape. Just fussy cutting the butterfly. Okay, now we can start assembling. I'll take this through pretty quick. First, I'm going to distress the edges of that rectangular panel with some toffee ink. First, I started with just the ink pad, but I decided I wanted more color around the edges, so I used a foam brush tool to ink around the edges. Then I'm going to place these zip strips down so that vertically the whole panel will be in the center. And when I lay that panel down on top of it, it'll look like that piece behind it is a full piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to add this film strip piece. It's going to be not quite in the center, just a little bit off center. And then I've popped that panel with some foam tape. I'll add that. And then we'll add our butterfly. But first, I want to add some more of these wood grain shapes. And this time I'm not going to color them. I'm going to keep them the wood color. So I'm just going to pop out a couple of these. This one is a leaf, a couple leaves with some berries. And then I'll do that open leaf image. We'll get them glued down. And then the butterfly I've popped with some foam tape. We'll bend the wings up, give a little dimension. And then we'll get in here with some glue and we'll glue down some of those wood shapes. Kind of tuck them under the wings of the butterfly. Just to fill out that space a little bit more, give it some more texture and interest. I love these wood grain shapes. You get a ton of them on that little 6x6 piece. And then I'm going to add my sentiment and put it up in the upper left area to balance things out. And then I decided I wanted a little bling. So I'm going to bring in some of the regular sparkles and bitty sparkles, and I'm going to color them with my tri-blend marker. So I have a couple of different brown colors, and I'm just testing them out to see which ones I like. They do take a second to dry, so I'm just adding color. And since I'm impatient, I'm going to use a tool to go ahead and add them so that I don't touch them when I slide them off the carrier sheet there and add them to my card. So we'll scatter a bunch of those around. So all these products are brand new. Most of these products are brand new, and they're available starting with the September 1st catalog. I'll leave a list of supplies with links in the description below. You can do a little shopping. So I appreciate you watching my video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be able to find all of my videos. And thanks for watching.